Unit 4, there are two topics, space and time trade-offs and dynamic programming. In this session, we look at dynamic programming, what is dynamic programming, and Warshall's algorithm. Now, dynamic programming in simple terms is a technique where you solve problems which have overlapping subproblems. Now, let's look at a simple example of Fibonacci numbers. You know that the Fibonacci sequence are 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. The first two numbers are defined, that is f0 and f1, right? So 0 and 1. The third number is sum of previous two, then previous two, and so on. So 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, and so on. Now, this is an example of finding, let's say, consider finding, you want to find the 10th Fibonacci number. Now, it's nothing but f of 10 will be equal to f of 9 plus f of 8. Now, you know f of 9 can be found out by 7 plus 8. So, this way, if you can solve the sub problems, now if you look at here, along with problem being sub problem, it's also overlapping sub problems. So for F9 you would require F7 and F8. So that way these sub problems can be solved using recurrence, right? So the recurrence formula for Fibonacci is f of n equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2. So here, instead of solving these overlapping sub problems again and again, dynamic programming makes use of tables to store the results, right? And then use that values in computation of solution to the problem. So that is what dynamic programming is all about. It's a technique for solving problems with overlapping subproblems, with the results of those subproblems stored in the form of a table, right? Now, in this session, we'll be looking at what is known as Warshall's algorithm. Now, we'll make use of dynamic programming technique to solve or to find the transitive closure of a graph, of a directed graph. So, Warshall's algorithm is used to find the transitive closure of a directed graph. Now, what do you mean by transitive closure? Basically implies that if you have a directed graph, remember the graph is directed here, right, which has n vertices and represented in the form of a matrix. If there is a path from vertex I to j, you will mention it as 1, right? If there is a path. If there is no path, then it becomes 0, right? Let's look at what is this with an example. Now consider this example of this directed graph. So A to B there is a path. So this is the adjacency matrix. So this is your adjacency matrix. Straight away A to B there is edge, B to D there is edge, C no edges, D to A, D to C there are edges. Now what's the transitive closure of this graph, right? Now A to B I can reach, so anyways already 1, no issues. A to D I can reach through AB, BD. So it is 1. A to C I can reach through AB, BD, DC. Similarly, A to A, I can reach from A to B, B to D, D to A. So, all A to A, B, AC, AD will be 1. Similarly, let's consider BA. So, BA can be reached from BD, DA. Let's take BC, BC, BD and DC. From C, I cannot reach any other vertex, so that's why C's values will be 0. From D, again I can reach A, B, C. So this is what the graph in C is called as transitive closure of a graph. So we'll make use of this Warshall's algorithm to find its transitive closure. Now let's look at how to solve it. Now we'll take the same example. We know the solution. Now let's move step by step. Now first thing is what we need to do is we need to find something called as R naught. R naught is nothing but is equivalent to your adjacency matrix. So if you look at the graph here, these values are nothing but the adjacency matrix. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. So 4 edges A to B, B to D, D to A, D to C are marked with 1. So this R naught is nothing but is the adjacency matrix. Now what we do here is we successively keep computing R1, R2, R3, R4. Why 4? Because there are 4 vertex. So R naught is the adjacency matrix. R1 to R4 will find out R1, R2, R3, R4. Now what does R1 contain? Now R1 contains information about paths that can use the first vertex as intermediate, right? So here the first vertex is A. second vertex is P, third is C, fourth is D. So for R1, I'll consider the vertex A through which if there exists any path which can be computed, right? So what we do is to compute R1, we make use of values which are boxed here, that is column A and row A are boxed. Okay, so what we do is to find R1, we'll retain the A row and column A values as it is. So if you look at R1, this will be 0001, this will be 0100. Just I'll quickly show that part. So if you look at R1, it is same as 001, 0100. So that won't change. What we'll do is I need to compute if there exists a path, let's say consider BC. What I'll be doing in R1 is considering 1 is nothing but vertex, first vertex A. Is there a path B to C which goes from B to A and A to C? Right? Again, I repeat, I'll try to find a path, let's say B to C, by checking whether there is any path from B to A and A to C. Let's look at D to D. So what I'll do here in R1 is D to D I need to check if there is a path through first vertex A. So D to A, A to D. So D to A is 1, A to D is 0. So if both of them are 1, then this will also be 1. Right? So my task at every stage of R1, R2, R3, R4 is I keep considering one vertex at a time. R1 I'll consider A, then B, R2, R3, C, R4, D. So I'll try to see if there is any intermediate path which goes through that particular vertex. Right? So first step is retain all the rows and column values of A. That's the first step. So this is the thing which we have done here. Right? And then if it is already 1, I need not have to compute again because 1 implies there is a path from A to B. I need not have to worry if there is another path from A to C, C to B. So all ones will be retained as it is. So what I need to do is I need to compute for remaining zeros, which means when I find R1, what and all I need to consider? I need to consider, so I leave out this, I leave out this, then I leave out this one, this one. So what I need to do is I need to find R1 of BB, BC, CB, CC, CD, DB and DD. So what I'll do here is I'll just apply this generic formula. The formula is RK, K is the intermediate vertex, I comma j equal to the previous value, that is RK minus 1, right? I comma K and Kj. If both of them are 1, then the output will be 1. If any one of them is 0, right, output will be 0. If both of them are 0, since it's an AND operator, it will be 0. So I am trying to find out the path from I to j through k. This is the general formula. Now let's apply it to BB here, right? BB. So the formula is RA1. I have just added 1 for only one first row. So you can add it or you can skip it. BB. So what I'll do is, if you look at the formula, I is B, J is B, K minus 1 is, it is 1, it is 0, R0 is the adjacency matrix. So IK, what is K here? K is A, R0 BA and R0 AB. So look at R0, right? So I'm computing BB is nothing but BA and AB. So what is BA? BA is 0. What is AB? AB is 1 here. So I've made a mistake here. It should have been AB is 1. So 0 and 1 anyways is 0. Similarly, what is BC? Through A. So B to A to C. It's just that retain B, add A, B to A and then A to C. So go back here. B to A is 0, A to C is 0. So 0 and 0 is 0. Then so BD I will not consider because it is already 1. Now come to CB. So what is CB? R0 of CA and AB. So what is CA here? CA is 0, AB is 1. So 0 and 1 is 0. Similarly CC, CA and AC, both of them are 0. CD, CA and AD, 0. Now come to DB. So DA and AB. So what is DA? 1. What is AB? 1. 1 and 1 is 1. So value of DB through A is 1. It implies, if you look at the graph here, so I can reach B through A by going to DA and AB. Hence DB now becomes 1 through A. DD will again be 0. So one value which changes is DB here. So this becomes my R1, right? Now I'll continue to repeat the same process. Now I need to find R2. So for R2, I'll consider the second vertex as intermediate. Second vertex as intermediate. So that second vertex is B here. So the box, row and column are used for getting R2. So I'll consider B and B. So what I'll do, again I'll retain all the values of this and this. So if you look at the output here, 1001, 0001 remains the same, no change. Then what I'll do, retain all values which are already 1. So this is 1, this is 1, that is retained as it is. So I'll just need to consider this AA, AC, AD, CA, CC, CD and then DD. Now I am considering B as the intermediate vertex. So my K becomes B, which is nothing but 2 in my numbering. So A to A is A to B, B to A of 1. So look at the previous values. A to B is 1, but this is 0. AC, AB, BC. So AB, BC again 1 and 0, 0. Now consider AD. So AD is again AB, BD. So AB is 1, BD is 1. So 1 and 1 is 1. So repeat the process for remaining values with 0, right? Then finally I'll get R of DD, DB and BD. So DB is 1, BD is 1. So 1 and 1 is 1. So my updated R2 is this. So these two have changed, this and then this. So that is reflected here. That is AD and DD. Now for R3, I'll consider vertex C. So again I'll repeat the process. So retain all the values of C row and C column as it is. Then whatever ones, just retain them as it is. So I need to compute this AA, BA, BB, only 3 values. So again I'll apply the formula. C is nothing but 3. So look at the previous ACCA, BA is BCCA, BB is BCCB. So all are 0, 0. So that will be retained as it is. So your R3 is same as R2 here. There is no change because I could not find a path which goes through vertex C, right? Which goes through vertex C, right? So that is what it indicates. Now, last thing is I need to compute R4. Now R4, consider the fourth vertex, that is D and D, right? Then again, box, row and column is used for getting. Retain all rows of D and column D as it is. Retain which are 1 already. So I need to compute remaining AA, AC, BA, BB, BC, CA, CB, CC, right? So I'll just apply the same process of formulas here, right? So here AA is nothing but A to D, D and A. So A to D is 1, D and A is 1, so I get 1. AC 1 and 1. BA again when you split 1 and 1. BC again BD, DB, BD, DC 1 and 1. Now come to CA, right? So CA you start with CD and then DA. So if you look at here, this is CD, this is CD, CD. So C to D is 0. So 0 and anything will always be 0. So I can just write it directly. Okay, so I can write it directly. 0 and anything will always be 0 because this is 0 since CD is 0. So while solving the problem, if you get something like this, you can just ignore and just write directly 0. So finally, the updated matrix is 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 for the B. C is anyway 0, then D is all 1 1. So if you look at the graph here, if you go back to the graph, right? So A, I can reach all other vertex including A. B, I can reach D, C, A including B. D I can reach A, B as well as D. C I cannot reach any vertex. So that's the reason why your final answer has ones and then C has zeros. So this is the transitive closure of the given graph. Now when you solve the problem, you need not have to write elaborate formulas like this. You can directly keep writing the matrix and check the values manually as well. There is no need to write these elaborate formulas. It is just for illustration. But then if you write the formulas, it will be more clear while solving. The possibility of making a mistake will be less. But then because of the time constraints, you may have to solve it quite quickly. You can just apply formula directly, just check the values and keep updating the matrix. So if you just write R0, R1, R2, R3, that is also sufficient. You need not have to write all the formulas, right? So you may write a generic formula like this, Rkij equal to this, and then solve it without having to write every step, because writing all these would consume a lot of time. But this is how you solve the compute the transitive closure using Warshall's algorithm. Now the algorithm is quite simple. Here k refers to the intermediate vertex. So intermediate vertex, you go through all the vertex 1 to n. Ij refers to the vertex. Again, there are up to n, 1 to n, 1 to n. So what I am doing is there are 3 loops here. Every time k is 1, I'll check I to j for all values. Then I will be incremented, I becomes 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I becomes 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I fails, then again I will be 3, I will be 4, then I fails, then k becomes 2. So what I am checking every time, I am checking if it is not equal to 1, because if it is 1, I will not do anything. If it is not 1, then I will check aik is 1 and kj is 1. If both of them are 1, then I will update aij equal to 1. So this is how the loop ends. So this is your Warshall algorithm. Since there are 3 loops here, ijk, this will be executed n times, n times and n times. So efficiency is n cube. So this should be n to the power of 3. It's written as n3, which should be exponential n to the power of 3. So there are various applications of Warshall's algorithm. In the Excel spreadsheet, whenever you change some formulas, right, which has a formula, the dependencies can be modeled with a digraph, and that can be modeled using transitive closure. Software engineering to investigating data flow and control for dependencies, right? So when you take up when you study software testing, you will understand this data flow and control for dependencies. In electronic engineering, redundancy identification and test generation for digital circuits is another application of Warshall algorithm. Again, I repeat, this is n to the power of 3, not n followed by 3. So this is how the Warshall's algorithm works.